Hi guys, I'm your Lady Traveler and this is Brandon Ramirez. We're coming at you from the Mystic Sisters YouTube channel. We're going to give you a general overall energy reading for the day and perhaps move on throughout the week, but we're going to work on the day and see where it goes.
Yeah. Also, if you see this video at any given time, it's probably a message that you may or may not need to use. So
Yeah, it'll resonate with you if it's the right time.
Exactly.
We don't
regardless of the day.
Right, the date doesn't matter. What matters is that you've clicked it, and now you should listen to see if it works for you.
Yeah. Another baby caterpillar.
Okay, so he's chilling. There's a message in that in itself, right? When you can't get the caterpillar off your finger.
Yep.
He's nervous. So we'll let him stay there. I hope it just... Do they bite?
No, I don't think so.
He'll be nice
Guess
to me.
we'll find out.
Yeah.
No, I think he's okay.
I think so. Maybe he just likes it. Don't they usually just move so much?
Yeah.
He moved when I
Did he just
touched
jump?
him.
Yeah.
Okay, let him sit there for a second.
So we're just gonna shuffle. There we go. New beginning.
Right, the Fool coming into a new beginning, maybe not, kind of reminding me of the caterpillar. It's on my finger because he's looking at a butterfly in this card, the Fool energy, looking at that butterfly. So it's almost like, you know, not necessarily knowing where you're going, but knowing that the possibilities are endless. There's so many caterpillars over here.
Oh
Look,
my
there's
God.
another one.
Jeez.
They're literally climbing on me
Yeah,
right now.
it's like Transformation City over here.
It is. This
So
little guy.
I think.
Come on, baby.
Yeah. Here.
Alright, well, he wants to stay again.
Then we have the Justice card over here.
Good. So this new...
Yeah, I believe that the new beginning is definitely something that's been you've been cultivating for a long time, and something that like you've put a lot of time and energy into, and maybe something that you haven't really seen so much progress in the past. I feel like now is the time where our karmic energy starts coming into play. So all of the things that we've been putting out, all of the things that we've been focusing on are going to start to come into fruition, come to fruition. So, and he's coming at me.
They're very friendly over
They
here.
are friendly. Yeah, so let's see, maybe we'll pull another card.
Yeah, things coming into fruition that you maybe necessarily didn't, you wanted, but you didn't necessarily know how you wanted it, or you considered it. Oh my God, literally squirrels are dropping their foods on us. Look at this. This is the fucking cutest space to be doing this right now. But so you didn't necessarily know how you wanted it, but you wanted it, and you wanted that forward movement. Maybe it was stagnant for a while, but finally it's coming to a head. Things are moving out, and you might not know exactly where, but when I see the Ace of Swords, which is coming up next, to me it's like your wishes going up. Like, okay, so now it's moving out of you. When I see the swords coming down, upside down like this, that means to me it's grounded. So right now you're in a, like, that one goal that really, maybe that stubborn thorn in your side is now like loosened up and is being like released.
Yeah.
Not necessarily grounded yet, but you're on your way.
Exactly.
Finally.
Yeah, and you're becoming a little bit more clear about what it is you're supposed to be prioritizing, and like where your path is taking you. Where right now I feel like we were talking about that before, how like right now is definitely a time to not necessarily even be taking action, but to sort of be putting all of your cards out on the table, so to speak.
Yeah.
And seeing what all of your options are, and seeing what resonates with you right now, and figuring out a little bit more of a game plan as far as like what it is you should be prioritizing. Sorry, this caterpillar is
So cute and so playful.
Exactly.
That's the same one, the same little one, because he's missing his patch of fur, I think.
Exactly, yeah.
And he's so cute.
Little guy.
No, he's great.
Yep.
So yeah, prioritizing moving forward, maybe not necessarily making the advances yet, but understanding where your advancements would lie. So where would be in your best interest to move towards. You know, I know we always have so many different ideas, and maybe even realizing that all those ideas are possible if you make the right time for them.
Yes, definitely.
So, connect with music. I was literally, for myself
Yes.
personally, was thinking like one of the things that I've been putting on the back burner for a really long time is that I'm very passionate about writing and music, and I feel like I have a unique style that I never get to that I never let myself share with people. So as I'm thinking that, I flipped the card that says connect with music. It's this angel literally hugging a guitar, which was my next purchase, I thought, because I recently broke my bass. So I was like, maybe I need a guitar. It says, thank you, angels, for inspiring me through music. So even if it's just listening to music, maybe you'll get messages through your music.
Exactly. Yeah, that's definitely been a factor for me lately. Is like playing with the radio and just being like, okay, like if just tune to a random station and see what messages come across. That definitely has been like really powerful.
The follow through, right? Like following your heart and intuition.
Definitely.
I was talking to my brother, and this idea comes through with the follow through, following your heart. Like a lot of the times where we get stuck following our heart because we stop because we're using our mind too much, that confuses us. So like once we become confused, it's a good initiative to maybe take a step back and go, wait, am I using my heart or my mind? Because it'll feel good before it sounds right.
Yep.
Like it might sound crazy, but if it feels good, you should definitely give it a try.
Definitely, yeah, and to sort of like loosen your grip on control, that's really what following your heart means to me right now. It's I definitely have the tendency to like sort of break everything down and try and be as logical as possible while balancing. I'm like full Leo, and everything is very heart chakra based for me, so I definitely experience very intense emotions, but part of what I try and do and have tried to do in the past is to take those intense emotions and implement a more logical thought process behind them and try and analyze them and get to the root of where those impulses are coming from. But right now, what I really am starting to shift is having to make difficult choices that maybe don't feel entirely good, like things that are painful, but somewhere just deep down inside you know is the right choice. And putting the right choice into motion because you know it's right, not because it feels good. Because it's not going to feel good at that very moment at the start of it. Sometimes goodbyes or endings can be painful.
It's still going.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, to really stay focused and stay in tune to your truth and to honor that above what you want your reality to look like.
Right, your truth, and honoring that, because actually your truth is going to define your reality. So if you're actually following your highest truth, like sometimes you want to give people the benefit of the doubt, situations, places, things, but something in you, something you don't know what, is like reminding you, telling you, you know what, maybe it's time to give it a break here. And that could be painful because you don't want to, a lot of us as like healers, energy workers, you know, working with the lightest possible energies and frequencies, we don't want to disappoint, hurt, or put other people into trouble, but we forget that other people don't care about doing that to us sometimes.
Exactly.
And most people are working out of selfishness, where we're trying to work out of a selfless area.
Exactly.
But
that can definitely be a very toxic situation if you find yourself in that just that like loop of like constantly giving and never getting anything in return. I've been sort of trying to shift out of that myself and like understanding that your time, your energy, your healing work like is an investment. So just starting to learn how to choose what you're investing your time and energy into a little bit more wisely. I've implemented this 3 strikes and you're out type of thing, where I'll if someone does something that is just not okay, like I'll of course forgive you. I'll give you another chance. I'll break it down for you, let you know what you did wrong, let you know what I need more of from you. And if you continue to grow and change, awesome. You're forgiven. You're like accepted back into my life.
Right into the garden.
Yep, exactly. Into abundance.
God's garden over
exactly.
here. Brandon's got his own garden. Y'all should have your own gardens too.
Exactly. Yeah, and so like obviously like people who are wounded definitely need that kindness, that nurturing, that forgiveness, that safe space to be themselves, to work out their issues.
Mm-hmm.
We all need that. I need that. So if they demonstrate a different behavior again, that it might be a little bit more negative, I can forgive them that one more time if my heart is really in it and it's just like, okay, like I see something worthwhile, I see potential in something, I see opportunity for growth for both parties, then I will do that again. I will find it in my space, in myself, to provide that space for them.
In your spelling.
Exactly.
Right.
If you do that one more time, the third time, no matter how badly I want you in my life, no matter how much potential I see in you, if you're not willing to meet that potential ultimately, then you gotta go, because you just made yourself a poor investment.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So like you declassified yourself to non-essential.
Non-essential.
Yeah, like, and yeah, just
That's
getting
perfect.
back to basics and being like, okay, my personal emotional well-being, my personal space, my personal mission has to come before this other person who is no longer honoring that within themselves or within you. So yeah,
Right.
having to make that painful, at times that painful departure.
Sometimes it's painful to depart from things, especially if it's something that we're used to, that's been around for a long time.
Yes.
For me, I have a hard time letting go of the past, so I have a lot of things that are like from so long ago that are still like present in my mind, in my life sometimes. And like recently, the universe is literally forcing me to just let it go.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of us are in that place, and so I think the main purpose is just for you to know, realize you're not alone. It's okay to move on. It's okay to let things go.
Yeah.
And like being alone and lonely are two different things, right? Like you
Yes.
can be strong in yourself alone.
Yeah.
You don't have to be lonely to be there by yourself. When you're lonely, there's something that you're lacking internally,
Yeah.
you know? And like once you find that, tie the loose ends. There was something here that said that to me, and maybe it was just in my mind or we said it earlier, I'm not sure, but find that, tie up the loose ends. Is that what this is about?
Maybe. The Eight of Cups, it's about
Letting things go.
exactly letting things
That was
go,
my next
moving on
sentence.
from a situation, like,
Right.
and we got the Six of Swords.
Literally moving on. So tying up the loose ends and releasing, letting it go, coming inside of yourself, finding the strength and the wholeness within you. What is this?
Death, new
Death,
beginnings.
new beginnings.
Yep.
Exactly, supporting exactly what I'm saying, of course.
Exactly.
For real. And it looks like the struggle is over. This fighting, this
Exactly.
fighting is like upside down. So to me, that's like, it's no more battling outside, you know, for what is that, the Eight of Wands, the Seven of Wands?
7. Yep.
So
In
there's no more
reverse.
battling in reverse. So it's no more battling outside. We're coming within now. That's the only option we have. And it's okay to be alone because you'll find someone to sit beside you who's also alone.
Exactly. Yeah, and sometimes being alone allows you to embrace your personal power and to sort of sit right and to pay a little bit more attention to your own thought processes, to your own false beliefs, to things that are maybe blocking that love that you're looking for, that new partnership, that new career advance. A lot of the reason why that may not be coming into fruition in the way that we idealize is because of those personal blockages, because of our past conditioning, our past beliefs that may have been brought down from generation to generation.
Right, it's like a psychic vibrational imprint
Yeah,
on the soul, the
exactly.
body, the mind.
Definitely.
And it's like, okay, my friend Patricia, she said this funny thing. Oh, she's a real young bug, still shaking placenta off her hoof. And that's where I'm reminded to go to right now. It's like we're still shaking that external energetic karma from eons, from lifetimes, from family descent.
Yes.
Even if it's spiritual family descent, like you can be from here, you can be from Uranus, Pleiades, Sirius. You can be from all different planets, multiple even, and have their karma with you, because as a Sirius planet, we're very serious, and structural and direct and in the moment, and sometimes that can be brutal and that can push out vibrational damage that we're actually trying to construct something, but we're so sharp and pushy that people get confused and it's too much at once.
Yeah.
So that's something that's like a planetary dissidence that I have to kind of correct in my way as I walk through. So
Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
And as you were saying that, I was thinking of this situation where, like, we have talked about that previously, like where whenever I see something, I'm like, finally, here it is. And yes, like my reaction to intensity is very different from some people's reaction to intensity.
Uh-huh.
Like, I get like so excited and I'm like, finally, this is the thing that I've been waiting for.
Slap me with it.
Exactly.
Right.
Literally.
I'm the same way.
And other people might be like, oh my god, intensity, like,
It's
like,
painful.
I don't know what to do with this, like, this is overwhelming. So I have to implement a little bit of understanding with that, and like understanding other people's emotional limitations, like
Because emotions are important. They're not necessarily real, but they're very important to
Yeah.
listen to, because he says emotional limitations, because some people can only go so far with their emotional intelligence because it does come together,
Yeah.
intelligence and emotions,
Yep.
when you let it. Some people don't let it, and that's when we create barriers and dramatics in our lives.
Yeah,
So,
blockages as well. Like, for me personally, it's about finding balance between the two oppositions. Like, there's the logical side of the mind, the analytical side, and there's the emotional and like, emotional. I couldn't think of another word for emotional that didn't have like a negative connotation to
Yeah.
it. Like, which is sad, and which I think is like the issue with the way that we may have been brought up, like at any given
moment.
like I felt like as I was growing up, it was sort of more like, oh my god, like this kid's emotional, he's dramatic,
Keep
he's
your
this,
emotions
he's
to
that.
yourself.
Exactly. Like but that's like how I process life, that's how I understand, that's how I like,
How does it feel is really very important.
Exactly.
Because I think a lot of the time abusers, or people who've been abused, are the
Yes.
people who are like, don't show us your emotions because we don't care about how you feel.
Exactly.
Okay, and when you're trying to teach people something, especially on an esoteric, energetic, planetary level, you have to connect with people's emotions for them to understand you,
Yep.
for you to be understood. Otherwise you're just pushing through all these barriers, which is cool because we want to push through these barriers, but you're not giving time for those wounds to heal after you push through. Rip the band-aid, tear the scab. Like, okay, so rip the scab off. It wasn't healing properly, but sit there and like soothe it for a second after you do that.
Exactly.
Because it's okay to feel pained or scared or emotional about things that are new to us.
Yep. Yeah. It's about like ultimately getting down to your core truth and saying, where is this sadness coming from? Where is this fear coming from? Is it fear of... So, all right, here is how I will word it. Like, to me, I've been thinking a lot about personal power versus control, and what is the difference between that? Like, to me, fear is something that is inherent. I mean, control, LOL, is
Right.
inherently
People
something
who want
that's
you to be
very
afraid are trying to be in
fear-based.
control.
Exactly. And even within my own behavior, like, I can be very, like, I
I'll
need
leave
this thing to be this way and this thing to be that way, and if I
Or
could
else I'm
just do
leaving.
this and if I could just do that, like then everything will be perfect. And if I'm perfect, like, and I get everything just right, then maybe
Then I can be
these
here.
things exactly.
And it's like if I don't get these
No.
things perfect and I can't be, then I can't be here, and then that's almost putting other people in a fear situation also, because then they're like, I
Exactly.
don't want to lose you over a thing.
Yeah, exactly. And putting so much pressure on ourselves to like be this idealized version of like what it is to be human, like is like insane to me, you know, like, and something that I'm realizing, I'm like, oh, I need to get rid of all of that, like, and that brings me to personal power, accepting your personal power. That to me is the core understanding that no matter your external situation, you have the inner strength to get through and to transmute whatever comes your way. So it automatically has something that's very grounding and very internal and very just focused and forthright. Whereas control, that to me feels very external, and like if I could just move all of these pieces to get perfectly aligned, no, like we can't do that. That's not healthy. That's fear. That's saying if I can just control all of these conditions, then maybe I'll be worthy or valid.
Right, or
Like,
maybe these other situations or people will be worthy
exactly.
or valid.
Yeah.
But like, it's like, when I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking that, you gotta go inside, organize that, take your time, have patience, because even with the inside, sometimes I'm like, why isn't my insides perfect right now?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that just takes so much time, because it took so much time for me to become this, lifetimes
Exactly.
and lifetimes and planets for me to become this imperfect being,
Yeah.
that I can see why, and a lot of introspection to see why I'm that way.
Mhm.
So now, in order to organize it and get rid of those old habits and stresses, it's just going to take some time, and I have to be okay with that.
Yeah, and it comes down to basic decision making. Like we can break it down because like part of what was so overwhelming for me and still is truthfully is that like we have these thought processes, these habits, like these loops where it's like you're in this excellent spot this one moment and it's like, okay, awesome, I'm doing good, and then something happens and it's like this like wormhole and suddenly you're on the other side of it and you're like, oh my god, like how did I get here, how did I repeat the same cycle over again, like what is it? It seems very like complicated and difficult to understand and process and to change. But ultimately what I'm learning is that it really comes down to these small, tiny decisions and just being mindful of what you're co-signing, really. Like there are some people in my life personally where it's like I have to constantly be establishing healthy boundaries and saying, okay, like this is what I have to offer, this is what I need for myself, like, and people who can meet those two things are perfect. Like you're more than welcome on this journey, and we're helping each other out. People who cannot meet those sort of that criteria, I have to sort of reconfigure a way to interact with them in my life.
Right, it might not be what you thought.
Yeah,
Sometimes
and
that changes.
part of the part of the thing that I've been realizing is that a lot of the reason why I have been feeling undervalued is because I am valuing the wrong people.
I was just thinking about that.
You know, like, yeah, so just be a little bit more conscious of like how you feel when you're in these relationships. Do you feel drained? Do you feel tired? Do you feel like uncertain? And is it like something that goes through extremes where it's like you're up here on cloud 9 and it's intoxicating, and then suddenly the bottom drops out and you're on the floor and you're like this is the worst. Like all of these extremes are not good, not healthy. We need stability, we need clarity, we need neutral support.
Mutual support and balance, right? That's where I was
Yeah.
going. In my mind, I was going there.
Yeah.
Mutual support is so important because we'll get into these relationships with people,
Mm.
and for me, as a giver, I'm always
Yep.
giving every last drop that I possibly can. If you need me, up to the point where I'm stressed and I don't know when to say no sometimes. And you know what? People who are takers aren't going to tell you it's time for you to
Exactly.
say no. They're just going to keep
They're
taking.
like, do you have any more?
Right, exactly. Exactly. And so as a giver, you have to establish boundaries with the takers so that they can learn when enough is enough also.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that
Excellent. Yeah.
that's about it. I think that wraps it up.
Yeah.
But I'm really happy for you on your new journey. I think you're going to be bold and more focused now. Allow yourself to connect, have patience with both sides of you, the light, the dark, the male, the female. You can bring them into one aspect and you can use them both every day.
Yeah.
I think that's what the Mystic Sisters is about, is bringing all these different
Elements.
women, feminine energies, even if they come from a masculine body, so to say. Bringing them all together to find that balance and co-creation. So good luck on your
Definitely.
journeys.
We love you.
Namaste.